Hey, this is Danny from Scare Talk. Before we get into all the horror greatness, I gotta let you know about Anchor. Anchor is the host site that we use to record our podcast. Anchor will upload your podcast to Apple and Spotify and many other listening platforms. Anchor is completely free, and you can download the app or go to the website, anchor.fm, and you can record straight on there. There's also some cool editing tools that you can use. Did I mention that it's free? Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, Anchor is the way to go. Go check it out. Now, for the spooky stuff.
Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
All right, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Jaunty Joel.
Hey guys, what's up?
And we have a special guest again with us today. We have Phil from Insidicast.
Hello, everyone.
Did I get that right? Insidicast? Is that how you would say it? Okay.
It's essentially insidious and cast.
Yes,
so.
yes. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the next film in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Next Generation, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, I was going to say the best one. Yeah, by far.
And before we get into all that, let's, Phil, can you tell us about your podcast and where you're from and all that?
Sure thing. So I'm from the UK, in the northwest, near Manchester. Pretty recent to podcasting, but essentially it's just me on my own for the most part, so a lot of it is more deep dive into films and more like in-depth analysis as opposed to just general conversation, because I don't have anyone else with me. It's just me.
Right. Okay, cool. What movies have you reviewed?
So far, we started on the first horror film that I ever remember watching as a child, which was Critters, because that was always on TV. And then I did, over Christmas, I did Krampus and all 3 Black Christmases. And then I'm just wrapping up the Scream stuff now.
All right, cool. So, let's get into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation. Joel, can you tell us who's in this?
Yes, I can. So this one stars, it's got a couple of pretty big stars. Well, today, big stars. Back then, not so much. But Matthew McConaughey as Vilmer. He was in Angels in the Outfield, the same year this movie came out.
Angels in the Outfield?
Yeah. Yeah, he was in
I don't
that.
remember him in that. Okay.
He was one of the baseball players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frailty, which I love that movie. And his character. I love his character in that movie. And Reign of Fire. I just chose, most people know who Matthew McConaughey is. I just chose some random ones for this one. And then we've got Renee Zellweger. She is Jenny. She was in Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yep.
Chicago and Empire Records.
Oh.
So it was a pretty good movie.
Not to mention Bridget Jones' Diaries.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge film for a lot of people.
Yeah. that is a big one. Yeah. And then Joe Stevens, he's W.E. I think it was Vilmer's brother, I'm pretty sure, in this movie. And he was in True Grit, The Alamo, and Selena.
Okay.
So, yeah. This was written and directed by Kim Henkel. He wrote the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the screenplay and the story. Eaten Alive, which was, I guess, adapted by the screen, and Butcher Boys. And this was literally the only movie that he has ever directed. So,
all right. Yeah, it looks like he's done a lot of producing.
Yeah, I did a lot. Yeah, he's produced most of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies.
Yeah,
except for 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the synopsis here: a group of teenagers get into a car crash in the Texas woods on prom night. and then wander into an old farmhouse that is home to Leatherface and his insane family of cannibalistic psychopaths.
It's a pretty basic. I mean, all of the synopsis for these movies are pretty basic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
People aren't watching these movies for the complex storytelling.
It's the same sort of setup.
Yeah.
As most of them.
Yeah.
But this one is really, really out there. Really crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the wildest of the franchise, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a, IMDb is usually what we go to for, our like synopsis and getting all the actors and all that. So this one has a 3.3 out of 10.
Yeah.
The worst rating of the franchise, and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of 3 rated movies on IMDb, but this one, I don't know. I don't see a 3 too often. Maybe because I'm not searching for movies that would warrant a 3. But
I'm sure Black Christmas 2019 had a 3.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I'm sure.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it might. And so yeah, this one's not reviewed too well. So let's see what we think though. So Phil, what was your overall thoughts on this?
I think it's a film that is heavily carried by Renee and Matthew, 100%.
Yeah.
Without them, I don't think this would be in any way watchable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And it's kind of hard. It's very hard to justify having any kind of sequel, any kind of spin-off or another installment. There kind of has to be some justification for existing. And that makes making these films very difficult. But I think when you try and create a new generation or try and establish new ground, there kind of has to be something new with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And all we got was more the same, but at a lesser quality.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really understand what the next generation part of it is supposed to be. I mean, maybe it's the next generation of the family, of the Sawyer family. Maybe that's what they're trying to portray there with that title.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, obviously it is different actors for the characters of the family. But other than that, I can't really put my finger on anything that's really new or next generation about this film.
Yeah.
Other than it's the next generation because it's the 90s and not the 70s, So just by, time wise, it's the next generation. But yeah, nothing really new, although I would say I had fun with this one. I'm a sucker for movies that are so bad that they entertain me. And this one did that. I've seen it twice now over the last few months. Matthew McConaughey's performance is unforgettable. It's it's pretty wild. His whole mechanical leg thing was really random. Really random. He's got
a little remote for it.
Yeah, and he was pulling out a bunch of different remotes at one point, trying to
find the right one.
Things like that just made me laugh. Some of the lines that he delivers is just so out there. It's then you got the lady that they first run across at the I don't even know what her job was. She was the
real estate woman.
Was she a real estate? Okay,
but in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what real estate she's
selling.
Not
a very successful real estate agent.
So and then her character was pretty wild. Their relationship, Vilmer and her, I don't know what that was about. That was really really toxic relationship, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
The grandpa, you got the grandpa again. In there.
Gotta have the grandpa in every movie.
Yeah, he's there. He's all gray and stuff, and I thought he was dead. And then he just gets
too.
up and walks around.
And then I was thinking, why is the rest of them still sat there?
Yeah. They're all still sitting there. And I think that was like the comedy of it, was like you
Yeah.
just assume that he's dead, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just gets up and walks away. Like he doesn't really do anything. He just
No,
he just gets up
he
and
just
walks.
exists pretty much in all of these movies. He's just there.
Yeah, really, really strange stuff. Renee Zellweger did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she was one of the better like final girls of the franchise.
Yeah.
Acting wise, and the was it her? No, it wasn't her boyfriend. The other guy, who was like cheating. He was like kissing this other girl. He was a character too. Some of his lines were just like, I don't know. There's so many one-liners, so much wacky stuff that I somewhat enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it just because I was like, what am I watching? You know? Not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's not.
Not really.
Yeah. Leatherface.
Oh yeah,
this was the weakest Leatherface we've ever had. He didn't even do anything. He was just there. He was so whiny and like crying the entire time. Like, dude, come on. You're Leatherface. Come on, you can't be doing this. Maybe that's the like next gen part of it is like the Leatherface. Which I'm glad they didn't continue on with that.
He's a little more sensitive.
Yeah. He's a little bit more caring and sensitive. If they made Leatherface like that today, oh man.
It's not something that's aged well.
No, it's
maybe
not.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
And it's kind of awkward as well because, there's a lot of, supposed trivia from this where a lot of this stuff gets explained. It's like, oh, well, the characters are like this because, I wrote them that way on purpose to be like a bit of a cartoony person. And, and it's hard to say how much of that is just trying to polish things years down the line and how much of that like was really intended.
Right.
And I think with Leatherface, it's kind of like that as well. Like, I don't know how much of this is, oh, this was on purpose because, I had some super deep meaning to why I did this. And more just like, this is just what I did, and people didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think there's, the first film is disturbing, and I think there's a fine line between being annoying and just ridiculous and then being disturbing. Because when I first watched the first film, I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I thought it was annoying as hell, especially that dinner scene. But I've kind of grown to appreciate it and understand, like, okay, this is just disturbing and like awful. And I don't know, maybe that's what they were trying to go for with this one, with some of the just out there behavior and Leatherface with all of his like screaming, and that could have been the intention. Definitely wasn't pulled off.
No.
But that might have been the intention. But then also you can kind of go back and say, oh, it was, I wanted them to be kind of funny, or whatever the perception was later, you can kind of be like, oh yeah, I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
It's what you call damage control.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is years down the line, they say, well, why did you do that in that film? And it's like, oh, like I intended it to be funny from the get-go.
Right.
But I'm not being funny. There's never been, maybe aside from the second one, there's never been like a Texas Chainsaw that's been written to deliberately be funny.
Right.
They've always wanted to make Leatherface a terrifying, imposing threat. And I've kind of said this, I think I said this in one of my episodes actually, which is, a guy with a chainsaw is scary enough. You don't need to like add a lot of wacky stuff to it.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes it a little bit weird looking back. But for me at least, I think like you said, I think you couldn't make that film today 100%.
Yeah.
And it's not even like they were trying to touch on this with making some greater point, whether this is to do with somebody cross-dressing or anything like that. It just was there. And because there's no kind of deeper thing to that, and it's just sort of in the background, it feels a bit offensive to look at.
Yeah.
Imagine if someone created like a character of someone of a different race, and instead of talking about maybe the reasons why that happens. You just had that in the background.
Right.
People years down the line might think that's a little bit like racist.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Well, especially having your villain who is obviously, mentally deranged and all that, then be a cross-dresser. It's like, okay, what are you trying to say about people who might be cross-dressing?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's no shyity from that. A lot of media did that for many, many years, deliberately to paint certain pictures of people.
Yeah.
And that, in many ways, sort of makes a film feel very outdated.
Yeah.
I think this has kind of been something I've been going on a bit of a tangent about since doing this podcast, actually. Just so many horror films make mistakes that make it dated. And the films that we really, really love are timeless. And the reason why they're timeless is because they're simple. And they just focus on the basics, And when you add all these extra elements, it's not going to resonate with people in years to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Even though during the time that you made it, you might think, okay, this is going to be timeless, but you can go too far and then alienate yourself, even in like 10 years. It wouldn't be topical at that time. So
100%.
Okay, so some little bit of trivia here. So we got there was nobody killed with a chainsaw in this movie.
Because Leatherface was in it for 5 minutes.
And he wasn't really
he was just running around.
Yeah, he wasn't really doing much as far as
so it's not
threatening.
It's not a Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's just the next generation.
So Renee Zellweger, reflecting on this movie, obviously she said it was very low budget. They shared a tiny Winnebago that was the producer's camper.
Wow.
And that's where they did all their makeup, and that's kind of where they stayed and where they got dressed. And
wow.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
All right.
She also said that it was dangerous. She says, I don't know if it was legal running from a guy with a live chainsaw.
Yeah, that's probably not the safest thing to be doing. And he's running with it too, like a live chainsaw. Yeah. Like, all right, well, don't fall.
One trip and
yeah, not good.
You're dead, or you're cutting off a limb or something.
Yeah,
literally.
But she has no shame in the movie, which is cool.
Well, yeah,
I think she did a really good job.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was so impressed when she ran upstairs and jumped through that window.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then she climbed up like this satellite thing, this aerial, and then jumps onto a wire.
Yeah,
I was like,
that was cool.
Props. I mean, for a film like of this budget, I was like, fair enough. Well done.
Yeah, pretty sure you didn't have stunt actors like doing this stuff for you.
Yeah,
on a low budget movie.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah,
I did like that part.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, anything else here? Matthew McConaughey had just graduated college when he starred in this movie. He also
needed the money.
Yeah. He also later, I think the same year, was in Time to Kill, which really I
think that was 96 if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well,
it could have been 94.
The next movie he did was A Time to Kill, which really blew him up, obviously. That was a huge movie for him. But you can see his skill as an actor.
Oh yeah, he did a great job in this movie.
Yeah, he was pretty convincing.
He did like too well of a job for a movie like this. Like, like you can dial it down a little bit.
You could see the fear in Renee's face.
Yeah,
and it was real.
Yeah,
they both went above and beyond what they probably could have done for this movie, and that's why they're big stars today. Like you take a movie like this that seriously, you're gonna take every movie seriously because it's just this isn't a serious type movie. So
it shows the work ethic and the craft that they've developed. So yeah, I mean, I liked it. I'm just gonna be honest. I know it's not a popular opinion, probably, but I had a good time watching it. this is, you know, I'm not going to give it a super high score or anything, but I feel like this one pulled off, and I don't, you know, we've talked about was it intentional or not, you know, who knows, but I feel like this one pulled off the comedy better than the second one. I feel like the second one was written intentionally for some comedy, and that's kind of been documented. But I think this one, to me, had me laughing more than the second one did. But, you know, that's just me.
Was that you laughing with it or laughing at it?
At
half and half.
Yeah, probably at it. I mean, again, it depends on what your intention is on the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you know, it's hard to know, am I laughing with it or at it? Because I don't know if you did that purposefully for me to laugh or not. But I probably...
Like, wait, that can't be a real quote from you that you just said. Like a serious quote.
The Matthew McConaughey character, I was laughing at him a lot.
Yeah, he was definitely, like, by far the best character in this entire movie.
So a part that I was definitely laughing at was the end where he gets hit by the plane.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And then you have Leatherface just like spinning around in circles with his chainsaw, just screaming. I'm like, how can you really put that on screen and that's supposed to be like a serious thing?
That's lazy writing. That's like we need to kill Vilmer off somehow.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do that? Let's get a plane to just come down and just.
Well, it was that other dude.
I know, but still, like that's
creative.
It's lazy writing.
That's not lazy. What other movie have you seen where a plane kills somebody?
Well, yeah, like it's out of nowhere.
Okay. All right,
it's
not
out
lazy.
Left field. It's lazy.
No, that's not lazy. That's creative.
We need to take him out somehow. Let's just randomly get a plane and just.
No, lazy would be shooting him. That would be lazy. Like finding a random gun and shooting him.
That would be lazy too.
Yeah.
But I mean,
a plane?
We're talking about. We haven't seen a plane in this entire movie. And the one time we see one, it's going to take him out. Like, okay,
all right, that's cool. I mean, it's just so zany and over the top. I'm just like, all right, why not? But yeah, and then Leatherface just spinning around in circles for a while.
Like, and then it cuts to a different scene, and it cuts back to him. He's still doing it. Like, okay. And then the movie ends. Like, we didn't need that last part.
That's very true.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, this is no masterpiece.
No. You know what was really confusing as well? This Vilmer's, like, employment.
Yeah.
They sort of alluded that he worked with I assume like the Illuminati.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he drove a truck called Illuminati Wrecker.
Yeah.
And I was so confused about like what his job actually is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like a tow truck driver of some sort.
He said there was he said the CIA is like watching them and they're in the walls and they know what they're doing. There's always talk about government conspiracies and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I know. This doesn't really belong in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah. Where's this going? Is this just a Texas thing? I'm confused.
This is actually this is actually like a better story than what we got. Like his little backstory. Like I want to see that.
Yeah, let's get a spinoff.
Yeah.
Leatherface and the Illuminati.
Yeah, why not? In space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get there at some point.
I'm sure we will. So this is the last one until we get to the remake, correct?
Yeah.
The remake came after this, like 10 years later.
Yeah. They come out with one like every 10 years or so.
Yeah. So, you know, then that one obviously went way more serious. Much better writing and directing and acting and all that stuff.
It went back to the basics, basically for
So that is, you know, the next generation. I would say makes more sense. This title didn't really make much sense.
No.
So
I don't know what they were going for with Next Generation. Like you just needed a subtitle for your movie.
Yeah. Well, maybe they were hoping to spark a new trilogy or something. I don't know.
They could.
It's probably usually the case.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of talked about this in one of my episodes as well. I can't remember which one it was. Where basically, there's that kind of weird dichotomy sometimes in Hollywood, right? Because sometimes they want to make a film because like it's a really good idea. They think, oh wow, this person actually has a good idea. We should turn this into a film. And a lot of the time it comes down to licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And when licensing starts to run out, they kind of need to make a new property to renew the license, or usually they have to give licenses back to people who own them.
Right.
And this has been kind of like the Hellraiser dilemma, which is they had no idea what to do with Hellraiser, but rather than give the license back, they just churned out a really shit Hellraiser film.
Yeah.
And Leatherface is also victim to this. So
Okay.
I can only hope that this new one is good because they want to make a really good Texas Chainsaw film, and not just because
They're running out
they
of time.
think, well, yeah, they're running out of time, and
Yeah.
they think, oh, maybe we need to give this back to like Tobe Hooper and other people.
Yeah. I wonder what the time frame is on that for this new one. Because Leatherface,
That was only 5 years ago. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that if you're comparing like 1 and 2 was what 12 years apart or 13
Yeah.
years apart,
something like that.
that seems more of that's still owned by Tobe Hooper though, so he did 1 and 2, so that doesn't really count. But like there's been like 10-year gaps in between movies.
Yeah.
So I feel with those types of movies, it is about just getting out another movie so that you can keep the rights to it. But 5 years is not that long.
Yeah.
To not just come up with like a story and get people together, but actually come out with the movie.
Yeah.
And this was supposed to have come out, I think, last year anyway.
Right.
So,
which could be a good or a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess my kind of theory is that, I mean, considering it's a Netflix thing specifically, it's probably down to one or two things. Either one, Netflix has a really good team who can just get it off the ground, and that's easier than trying to justify like to big Hollywood directors like we should make another one.
Yeah.
And the second potential reason could be that Netflix is a pretty easy way to make money.
Yeah.
Because basically it kind of pays for itself. Like so many dead like actors and content makers who haven't made a good film in 10 years, or 20 years, just chuck out a Netflix film, and even if it's like rubbish, they can sit and make money on it. Like, think about Adam Sandler. Like, he's made so many films on Netflix.
He's got like a deal with them.
Yet who's gone to the cinema to watch an Adam Sandler film in years? Like, nobody.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a safe place on Netflix because if people watch it, you make money. And if they don't watch it, you probably still make money.
Yeah.
Because there'll probably be some kind of cut in revenue somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
it might just be
contract. Well, he's got a contract, so it's like he's getting paid no matter what.
What worries me about the new Texas Chainsaw movie is the fact that the reason that Netflix did buy it for their streaming service is because nobody else would. No other production company wanted it. So I'm like,
yeah, because this was written and directed and this was done, and it was just kind of sitting there.
Yeah,
and then Netflix took it on.
Yeah.
So
like that worries me right there. That's really the main thing that worries me is the fact that nobody wanted this movie.
Well, how do you know that? How do you know nobody wanted it?
Because I read an art. I read
maybe
a couple
Netflix
of like
was
articles
fighting for it.
Okay.
Maybe Netflix was bidding so high.
Sure. 500 million.
Yeah, Netflix just really fought for the rights of this one, and didn't want it to go to theater because it would have just blown up so big. Netflix is
that's obviously
trying to bank in.
That's obviously what happened.
We can be optimistic. Come on. All right. So at the end of each episode, we give it a ranking out of 100. So kind of like the Rotten Tomatoes percentage. So Phil, do you have an idea for a ranking for this?
That is a good question. I think maybe a 20. and I'll give 10 each for Matthew and Renee.
Wow.
Nice. Nice. All right. All right, Joel.
I mean, mine. So the way that we both have been really kind of ranking our movies a little higher than they probably should be. So I'm trying to keep my my rankings a little lower, like more manageable, I guess. So for me, what I was gonna say was like a 57.
Okay.
Which is still like it's low. It's actually low for me, but it should actually probably be lower than that. But 57.
Okay. I'm going 65. This is one that I will watch every so often, maybe every few years or something. I'll put it on to get a good laugh, or maybe show somebody and be like, "Dude, you're not gonna. You just don't know."
Of a movie.
Yeah, you just don't know. I'm gonna show you something that's gonna change your life.
Yeah. The next generation.
So, yeah, I mean, there's always one of these. I mean, this franchise has multiple, but for all the slasher franchises, there's always the so bad it's good. I like Halloween 5. That movie sucks, but I have a good time watching it. Freddy's Dead. I enjoy that one. I laugh at that one.
That one is fun. It gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I'm just saying. It's the MTV like Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It's just
so I mean,
right out there and ridiculous.
We are. I mean, especially me. I think Joel is a little more critical of the of horror, but I have a good time with like almost anything. So I mean, they're better and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some movies that I absolutely despise, like oh my gosh, Midsommar. I did not like that.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
I was bored. I thought, I got what they were going for with that one. I understood it, but sometimes you can be a little pretentious, and I think that movie kind of had that. So there's just different, opinions and, what you kind of gravitate toward with horror. That's what's cool about horror, is there's so many different directions you can go with,
absolutely,
with your, what you like. Like, I love some more of those artsy films like Midsommar, like Hereditary. I loved that one. I loved The Witch.
Mm-hmm.
And, like the Lodge, and some of those slower movies. So you can kind of mix and match, I guess, with horror. And I think the new Scream movie kind of touches on some of that stuff.
I was just thinking that it's very interesting you bring it up, because like I talked about in my episode, like it kind of highlights the big question, which is that there is a space for both.
Yes.
And that it's okay to have both. And one of the questions they put in that is like, what is toxic fandom? Like, how can something be toxic if you love the film? And it's like, because people take away different things. And sometimes it's okay just to have a film just for popcorn. Not everything has to be highbrow, high concept,
right.
Go straight to YouTube and watch a dissection of everything you've just watched for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes a bit of fun is good, and horror's always been a place where things have been a little bit wacky. And it's also been a place where things have been terrifying, like to the point where like Hollywood doesn't want to put it out because they think they're gonna get shut down. Like Evil Dead, for example. I think Evil Dead wasn't that like single-handedly responsible to bring in ratings in general on films, because they were so worried about everything in that.
Right.
And there's a place for both, and this probably doesn't fit into highbrow and high concept horror.
No.
But there's things to take away from it, and it's good fun.
I did have fun for the most part with this movie. It's just
and I know I rated it low, but it's not because I didn't like it. It's just because I want Texas to have some good stuff with it, like some respect and some let's kind of honor, at least with semi-decent dialogue. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, and I totally get that too, because when you take the property of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like this classic, you kind of want to try to keep that, at least the tone. You know, you want to build off of that and keep it somewhat consistent.
Mhm.
And they did not do that. But they didn't do that with the second one either. Like right away, they kind of just abandoned the whole concept and just went off the rails. I guess the third one kind of went sort of back to that. I mean, I wouldn't say it really took
tried.
that. It tried. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, I think we've talked about this movie a little more than needed. This one, we dissected it pretty well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, so we got a 20, a 57, and a 65. Did I say 65?
Yeah, I think I
so.
did. Yeah.
Okay. And so Phil from Insidicast, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, go check out his podcast. It's over on all the streaming platforms. I assume you can get it on Apple, Spotify, all the other ones too. Yeah, so show some support to him. He's got a good show.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Much.
definitely. All right, so look for our continued episodes on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. We'll be reviewing the new one, and then I think we'll have to do a separate ranking because there's quite a few.
Yeah, there's like 10 of these movies. Yeah.
So we'll do a separate
ranking video
or episode on that. And all right, so that's it for the Texas Chainsaw Next Generation.
Sleep tight.
Don't let Vilmer bite.